Hello my friends and welcome. Today is Tuesday and I'm just about to start stitching on this Thomas Kincaid chart. It's called Home for the Holidays and it's by Heaven and Earth Design. First off, I'm going to have to apologize if there's any outside noise coming into this video. It sounds like they're doing some renovations in one of our neighbors and there's a horrible screeching sound. So if it can be heard, I have to apologize. It was either a choice of putting up with it or not doing video at all, because today, Tuesday, I happen to be lucky enough to have time to myself. So that isn't often the case. Normally there is always somebody at home. So it does get difficult for me to get that peace and quiet. So unfortunately, even when I am on my own, it's not always peace and quiet, but hey, what can you do? I live in a major city. There's not more than can be said, except you have to live with some kind of noise or other most of the time. Generally, it's pretty quiet, but today, not so much. Anyway, as you can see, I've got a little corner here that remains unworked, and this is my home stretch. This is literally all I have left to do to finish this chart, which is about, let's say, between 7,000 and 8,000 stitches is what I have left, which is nothing, right? I'm at 91.08%, so I'm almost there. I'm so close, I can feel it. But I haven't been compelled to bring this one out, even though I know that I'm so close to a finish. Don't ask me why that is. I thought that when I was going to get close to a finish that I would just be really excited to keep this one in focus and just keep, just stitch on it like a crazy thing. But that doesn't happen. I don't know, but for some reason that never happens to me. I tend to slow down when I get closer to the finish. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's how it seems to go. But anyway, I'm here and I'm going to work another I'm actually going to go and finish this row, I think, and then just keep finishing the rows until I get to the bottom. Most of what I've got left to do is pretty good. There's hardly any sort of high confetti areas. It's just lots of nice background, which isn't too difficult. And for those interested, I'm working 10th stitch, which is one leg of a cross, and I'm using 2 strands. And this is 25 count. So I'm like a bear with a sore head today, kind of. For some reason, I woke up 5 o'clock this morning. Well, actually, I don't even think there was a reason. I just was awake and the light was already coming into the window, which was pretty crazy. I think I'm actually gonna just not do rows because I have so few colours here to do at the moment that I don't feel like I need to do one stitch after the other. Like if there was 10 stitches in a row that were all different colours, I would be doing them one at a time. Well, I wouldn't have a choice but to do them one at a time. But now that I've got so few colours, I may as well just, just pick a colour and go with it till I get to the bottom. So I woke up at 5 o'clock and I was like, why am I awake? I don't need to be awake at this time. Doesn't happen often. And I just got up because I just couldn't lie there, and my husband has to get up early, so I don't want to disturb him. And it's kind of like, well, if I just lie here and wait a little bit, maybe I'll go back to sleep. So I did that, but it wasn't happening. So eventually I got up, and there's absolutely nothing that I want to do at 5 o'clock in the morning. Trust me. I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to stitch. I don't want to read it. I just don't want to be around in the middle of the night. I reckon some people are probably really good at getting up early, even at 5 a.m. and start pottering around doing stuff. It's just, I feel like it's an unearthly time to be awake. So I just can't get into any activity or mode at 5 a.m., especially one that's not going to be noisy or disturb other people. But anyway, I managed to go back to bed for about an hour, and I was just about to kind of get a little bit of catch-up sleep. And then I heard this blooming great big thundery noise downstairs, somewhere in the block below, and I thought, oh God, that's going to be the end of that. There is no way in hell that you're going to get an extra hour's sleep. So here I am, talking to you and complaining about the neighbours making noise. However, if that was me downstairs and I was fixing my apartment and I had tradespeople in doing all sorts of things, I wouldn't be feeling sorry for the lady on the top floor who is trying to get a nap at midday. I would say, well, you know what? It's midday and I have stuff to do. I've got to fix my apartment or I won't be able to move into it, or whatever the story is. So kind of trying to look at it from the other side of the fence and not get too, peed at the noise. But I have to say, when you're lying in bed and you're just nodding off and then there's a neighbourly noise that comes booming through the walls, it does really grind you. I'm pretty sure you've all got some stories of your own to tell in that respect. I don't have a lot of toleration for noisy people. I mean, I understand, people want to play music and some people have got really loud voices that, I'm telling you, I live in a place that's got like stone walls that are so thick, you would need the most massive stone ball, probably the size of a small car, in order to knock down a wall. I mean, the walls are absolutely huge and stone thick, and you still hear what I call the nasty boom of a bass come through the wall. I think that boom that people play music-wise, that will just travel anywhere. You could probably hear that on the moon. It's the most awful. And but despite all my complaints and everything, you probably won't believe me when I say that it's actually very quiet, because we got double glazing and we don't hear a lot of neighbourly noise usually. Not at all. Neighbours are actually quite good. They don't make a lot of noise, rarely if ever play music. So it's not a huge complaint. It's just today, when I happen to be awake at 5 a.m, that they've decided, and not because I've been awake at 5 a.m, but it's because today had to be the day that I'm shattered because I didn't get much sleep. That is the day that they're doing house renovations. I don't know, what in God's plan made me wake up at 5. Okay, I'm doing a nice 3371 brown colour here. So that side, we just have to put up with whatever we have to put up with. Hopefully it won't go on. It won't go on for too many days, hopefully. But to be fair, it hasn't started very early in the morning. which is a godsend, because the last thing you want is to be kicked out of bed at 7 a.m. with a load of banging noises, which happens often in the city actually, because they're doing roadworks outside, but they're much, much further down the street than me, so I don't hear any of that. But I do feel sorry for the residents further down the street that have to listen to that first thing in the morning. Especially if, a lot of people now working night shifts and stuff where they just can't get to sleep during the night because they're working. Then they come home and then they've got nothing but noise all day long. Can't be nice at all. Home for the Holidays is very, very close to completion. I have been doing a good job at keeping to my goal of doing about 3,000 stitches a month on this one, and it's been getting me close to this goal. I've been creeping closer and closer throughout the entire beginning of this year, and now I'm seeing the results that I'm so close to a finish, which is really exciting. So this one is going to be out of my rotation soon. Yay! Isn't it a nice feeling when you have a chart that's just going to disappear from your rotation really quickly? Well, let me tell you, Heaven and Earth designs never disappear, or any full coverage disappear from your rotation quickly. But it's nice when you're getting close to a finish that you can say, the end is in sight, and then you can move on. And funnily enough, the other day, the other thing that happened this week was, not this week, last week, I discovered one of my older whips, which is called, I discovered two of them actually, Butterfly Ornament. I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see it. I think it's Butterfly Ornament Peach, if I'm correct. And I also found an artisy chart that I'd started ages ago called Paris Romance. Now, these had been UFO'd because that's what we do. We every so often UFO. And I've started loads of charts in the last 3 years. Some of them made it. They made it through the wilderness. And some of them didn't. In fact, a lot of them didn't. However, this Paris Romance and Butterfly Ornament was still very neatly folded up with all of the threads and everything in the box. And I thought, do you know what? I really like these patterns. I don't really want to have these UFO'd. I've seen them now in a fresh light. Anything else you've seen me before that isn't in my current rotation, I have no idea where it is, and probably is going to never be seen again, unless by some stroke of a miracle I decide to go hunting for something. But I'm like way past a lot of things. But these two was suddenly, they piqued my interest, and I thought, well, I don't actually have a lot of things in my rotation at the moment. The only things I've been working on are my Riverwalk Charm, this one. I started Happy Village, and Sad Fairy was coming out very infrequently, but I was putting in a few now and again. And my Fruits of Plenty hasn't been calling to me lately, so that one's kind of sleeping. So I've only had about 4 or 5 in the picture, so to speak. So I thought, well, what if I bring out these two? How would I fit them? Could I do a little bit on them or something? Or how do I feel about them? So first one I brought out was Paris Romance, and I thought I'm going to have a look and see if I've got the progress, because I might have lost, like many people, when you decide not to do a design, you might have export the progress you've got and keep it backed up for the future in case it ever comes out of hiding. Or you might just somehow it disappears from your pattern keeper and you just forget about it if you decided you don't want to continue. Now, I went looking for my progress and I realized that I had it, because I'm pretty good actually for backing up most things quite frequently. And I saw that I was working it really cross country, which isn't my style. But then I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go with cross country and do a little bit 1/1 on 25 count. And it was a nice, refreshing change to do it. And then the next day, I think, some point in the afternoon or early evening, I brought out the butterfly ornament. And again, it's the 1/1 full cross and 25 count. And I thought, I'm actually enjoying this because all I've been doing lately is this 2/1 tent. So it was nice to have a little change of technique, if nothing else. So then I thought, well, I think I might bring them out and put them in the rotation for a week and see how I feel about that. Because nothing is ever set in gold with us stitchers. As you know, we are like the wind. We blow in every direction. At least that's kind of how I feel sometimes. And I know some of you out there say the same thing and have said, you know, one week I'm interested in something and the next week I'm not. Or I just fall out of love, which I think is the best way to phrase it. And I do that too. I fall out of love with something. And I used to feel really guilty about it, but no longer do I feel guilty about it. But anyway, I just try to be sensible, which isn't, you know, sensible and a full coverage stitcher or any cross stitcher. Being sensible isn't really that easy. I don't know. I'm not that sensible either. I used to think I was really sensible at never starting charts and never, you know, going over my limit of say 4 or 5 charts. But yeah, no, I think that happens to a lot of us. So I thought I'm going to try and do a bit of a rotation where this one still gets more than the rest. And I pick one HAED just to, you know, for a bit of fun, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I was kind of getting a bit tired of flip-flopping between this one and Astrocat, which is the one that I'm doing for the Heaven and Earth Sal. So for a few days I was just flip-flopping between these two and I was getting a bit bored of it. So I'm going to just pick out these two that I've discovered, and I'm going to add them to rotation for a little while, see how I feel about them, see which one of them I'm liking the most, along with the ones I'm doing now, and do a spin the wheel, because I always wanted to try a spin the wheel kind of thing, and see how we go. And you know what? I kind of enjoyed it. I spun the wheel. Is that the right phrase? I spun the wheel, sorry. Must remember my phrasing. I spun the wheel yesterday and I got Sad Fairy. And I thought, great. Do you know how many stitches I got done yesterday on Sad Fairy? And I even was out for a good portion of the afternoon yesterday with some friends. And I did some stitching in the morning, some stitching in the evening. I did 1,000 stitches on Sad Fairy yesterday. Honestly, could not believe my eyes. But yeah, as you probably guessed, it's a lot of block stitching, but still. I was amazed at myself. And then I spun the wheel today, and here I am. This is what I got, the Home for the Holidays. And I've added the other ones that I have, which are, as I mentioned, Paris Romance, Butterfly Ornament, Riverwalk Charm. Might have left another one out, Astro Cat. Ones that I have sort of in the picture that I've been doing anyway. And added them all to my wheel, and here we are with this one. So I'm going to be working a full day with this one as well, and hopefully I might be able to get, by the time I go to bed, I might be able to get Let's see if I'm lucky and I can get another 1,000. I doubt it now, to be honest. I was doubting that yesterday. I was thinking yesterday when I was doing the other one that I was only going to be able to get about 200 or 300 because I had to leave at 1 o'clock. But I had to have my lunch first and everything else. So I didn't get back here until I think it was 4 o'clock. So I was 3 hours out. And then I got back at 4 and I didn't start stitching either. I didn't start stitching till about 5:30. Then I stitched for an hour. I got a lot of stitches in, about 200 or so. Had my dinner, did a bit of tidying up, and then got back to the stitching, and I stitched until not even that late. I think it was 6:30, 7 to 11 o'clock. And I realized I was at like 800 and something. So I pushed it a little bit further and I managed to get to the 1,000, and then I just crashed completely, went to bed. So 1,000 stitches, guys, 1,000 stitches, which I haven't done on Sad Fairy in over a year. I've been doing dribs and drabs. So I'm thinking that I'm probably getting more done now with adding 2 and doing a rotation and goodness knows why than I was just sticking to 2. I know you get more progress on a particular chart the fewer that you have, but it kind of depends on whether you are focusing on a particular chart, really just want to get that one done. Don't mind losing progress time on the others. But I sort of liked the idea anyway, and I thought, oh, you know what? I don't have enough fun in my life, so there we go. Spinning a wheel is a bit of fun, so I just came up with that idea. And yeah, if it doesn't work out, if I only want to do it for a week, great, I can drop it after a week. If I carry it on for a month, great. If I don't carry it on at all, there's no harm done. I mean, this is what I feel like, you know, this is the novelty I feel, is that we can do what we like with our stitching time. We can shuffle it around as much as we like. We can say, I'm only going to work on 1, or I'm only going to work on 2, or I'm only going to work on 15 or 20 or whatever. And I've noticed some stitching floss tubers have a really good system where they just spin wheels and they say, right, 200 in this, I want to get 500 on that, I want to get, you know, another 100 on that. And I used to think, oh, this is silly because you never really see much progress on anything. But it's not silly. It's the way that they like or enjoy stitching. Nothing silly about it. So to my shame, I would feel that you know, it was a waste of time. But now, as time has gone on, I've realized more and more how important your time is to you and nobody else. So whatever way you work, your hobby is the most important for you. And it doesn't have anything to do with other people at all. So if you're happy having, I don't know, 50 whips, spinning wheels and doing 100 stitches here, 100 stitches there, it really is the best thing you can do, because if that's what gives you joy, I say great. And who cares if you don't get huge amounts of progress on one particular one? I mean, who really cares at the end of the day? No one but yourself, right? Because it's your project. And who cares if you want to UFO 1 or 2, or you want to have a new start, or if you want to change your routine completely or have a break for a month. It doesn't matter at all. This is what I've learned. As long as you're enjoying it, because there's not enough time in our lifetime to do everything that we want to do. So anyway, I mean, in an ideal world, we would be starting 1,000 charts a year, wouldn't we? Because let's face it, how many charts, if you knew that you had, if your life would go on infinitely and you could just, not worry about time. Time would never be a factor. You're not running out of any time. You just go on and on and on forever stitching. How many charts would we start, for Christ's sake? We'd be starting charts like there was no tomorrow. And we would be enjoying all of them, even if it was just for a few stitches each. We could say, hey, I just enjoyed the kitting up and the starting. The only thing I feel, though, is that if something becomes overwhelming and you know that it's overwhelming and you can't cope with it, then it's time to, sit back and reshuffle whatever it is you're doing that's overwhelming you. I've been overwhelmed in the past by the amount of things that I've started, and I've had to stop because I've woken up and thought, my God, I feel like, I don't know, like all these things are firing at me, all these whips, and I can't get my head straight. Which one do I do? I want to do all of them and I can't do all of them. And I'd start getting into panic mode and feeling really overwhelmed. So at that point, I was suffering a lot of anxiety about it. So I stopped and said, right, just pull out the ones that you want to work on and divide it in half. And that's what I did. And then I went and focused a bit more on the ones that I really wanted to focus on, like the bigger charts and the older ones that I have. And some of them just slipped away, but that's okay. That is okay. Everybody's got charts that they just can't keep up with all of them. So you keep up with the ones you want to. So that's really what happened, which was a fun and exciting thing. So I'm looking forward to my spin the wheel tomorrow. So kind of turned it into a little game. It's fun. It's not harming anyone. I'm getting progress on, let's just say I'm getting progress on all of them that I've picked for my spin the wheel. And I'll see how I feel about everything when I come to do my end of month update, and I'll let you know, if you're interested, how I feel about my switch of rotation by adding another couple in and doing a little fun, picking one a day. See how I feel about that, because I could change my mind by the end of the month and say, I think I'll just go back to focusing on one or two. But even if I do that, I'm fine with it. I see the stitching as something I want to enjoy. So if I shake it up a little bit, it's with the intention of enjoying it. And if it's not being enjoyed, then I'll change my tack again, and I'll go a different way. Now, as you can see, I'm quite well getting quite a lot done here now, because we've got so few colours. So when I've got so few colours, I like to just do this one colour in the square and then the next colour. There's no need for doing snaking rows when you've only got a couple of colours. It's just, that is really, for me, just a bit of a waste of time having to keep stopping and rethreading and stopping and rethreading. I mean, just do one colour and then do the next one. But when there's like mad confetti in that square, I don't know which way I'm going. I would just start at the top and work my way through. I know it's going to be slower, but you're not going to be able to be fast anyway. Let's face it. How fast are you going to be able to go if you have got 50 different colours inside one square? You're not going to be able to go that fast anyway. You have to change colours anyway. So yeah, depending on what's going on around here is how I'm approaching it. Whether it's row by row or whether it's colour by colour. Depends on what way it wants to be stitched, really, I guess. Now, funnily enough, I think that noise downstairs has gone, but now it's outside, so can't be the same people, really. So there's loads of roadworks going on here at the moment, which is really interesting because I often have to catch a bus at the end of my street, and I know all the stops that my bus goes. Like, I can't remember all the names of the stops sometimes, but I know all the stops. And then when I left the house yesterday to catch my bus, it said, bus stop closed. And I said, oh my God, now what happens? So I had to go and find the next bus stop, which wasn't closed. So I walked until I got to the next bus stop. And lo and behold, it wasn't closed. There was nobody standing in it, but I stood there and no bus came along. So I walked to the next bus stop and waited and no bus came along. And I thought, well, there's still buses going past, so where's mine? Anyway, I just got fed up and walked. So it took me, I walked for about 40 minutes, which you might think isn't a very long walk, but when you've got excruciating sciatica, it can really aggravate it. But I was actually okay. I walked the whole way and thought, I can do this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to walk back. I'm going to have to get a bus somewhere. So I did, because there's no way I could have done that twice. And I walked back, I got a bus back, but of course the bus stop near my home is shut. So I had to stop quite a bit further out and then walk a little bit more again. So to say I got my exercise in yesterday is an understatement. And for me, that's quite a lot because of the issues I've got. For somebody else, it's probably nothing at all. But we're all different, right? We've all got different capabilities. But the weather was shining. It was so nice and bright and sunny. It was really nice, and everyone had a smile on their face. Everyone has a smile on their face when you've had a spate of really horrible weather, grey and dismal, and then you get a really nice sunny day. Everybody's smiling and saying hello, and this is the thing I found here. People are generally so friendly when the weather's good, not so friendly when the weather's bad. Mind you, I'm not particularly friendly when the weather's bad. I don't want anyone to speak to me when I'm getting wet and my umbrella's gone flying over the roof. But yesterday I was saying hello to people because they were just smiling at me, which is always nice. Now, I've done this square now. Where am I going to go next? I suppose I can go to the one on the right. I've had a couple of questions, that's the other thing I wanted to just briefly touch upon, about how I don't get tension lines in my stitching. Now, seriously, my first reaction is to say I have no idea, because I just stitch and I just do an edge like this, and I don't know why, but when I fill in the other side, I just don't get a line. But from listening to other people and, being in this community a while, I've heard people saying there are multiple reasons why you get tension lines. One of them is your actual tension is too tight. So if you're pulling your threads all one way and you've pulled all your threads the other way, you're going to see a tiny gap in between. Whereas if you're maybe parking a lot of threads to the side, like here, a lot of threads being parked on the side from one square to the other, they're covering up the fabric at the back. So that line of fabric at the back isn't going to be bare in between one side and another. That's one of the reasons. They say that tent is worse because you're always pulling in one direction. I don't know about that. I've never had that problem. So if you're getting lines, it most likely is probably because you have an uneven tension, your tension is too tight, or you're not parking threads or bringing your threads over from one side to the other. Kind of like when you part your hair, you do a middle parting down your head. If you pull all your hair to one side, straighten it down, pull it tight. If you pull all the hair on the top of your head to the other side and pull it down and tight, you're going to get a center parting that shows quite severely. Whereas if you move a few hairs from one side to the other and then from the other side to the other, you're less going to see or notice that center parting. Kind of think of it like that. Think of it like hair. How would hair work? But I don't really know. I just never have had lines like that, and I suppose it's because my tension is quite even and consistent as well. So that's really all I can say about it. I can't really say much else. I don't really know exactly scientifically why things happen like that. I know that some people have had lines with diagonals as well, and I never had lines, not even with diagonals. I don't know. I would say that if that's happening to you, just try and do things a little differently. Find another way to do things a little differently. That isn't pulling your threads to one way, to one side or the other. So now I really enjoy 2/1 but I also like the 1/1 full cross, and I think it gives, having done them both now, various pieces, they do have a different texture. The 2/1 on 25 count is definitely bulkier. It's got a more tapestry feel. The 1/1 on 25 count is more consistent looking, and you can't get as much bulk, I don't think. It's more even. But the 2/1 I find is marginally quicker. I think I've just done too many stitches here. Yes, I have. Not paying attention. Let's pull a couple out. 1. There's 3 there. See, that's what happens when you chat and don't look at what you're doing. So, thank goodness I just realised that in time. Because it is kind of hard to count when you're talking. Now I have to thread my needle again. Okay, that's fine. Oh, this is going to get into a mess. I didn't thread my needle properly. Come on now. Don't mess around. So let's see, I thought I might be able to finish this chart by June, according to my calculations, at 3,000 stitches a month on average. I would be able to do a June finish. But now if I'm doing a spin wheel rotation, it might be a few weeks more, who knows. Oh goodness, I've just done the same thing again. I've just gone down the same hole. Just wake up, woman. Okay, I'm going back to here. Right. Honestly, I don't know if I should be stitching at all since I've been awake since 5 o'clock. I think I'm probably going to crash and burn in another hour or two, and then I had better not fall asleep, because I will run into problems later on if I do that. And I will be awake till the early hours again. I don't want that. Gosh, don't we underestimate how important sleep is, honestly? It is so important to our well-being. I mean, one bad night can just leave you in a state for an entire day or even an entire week when you try to get things back into normality, because we're so kind of creatures that for the most part like consistency, routine. We like to go to sleep and wake up and feel like everything's great, that we've had a good sleep, that we can continue with our day as normal. One bad night and it just affects the rest of the day. Yep. I've never actually fallen asleep at work, but I have had that thing where I've been sitting at my desk and somebody's been talking to me and I've not heard anything that they've said. It's just gone over my head because I've been so shattered and exhausted. My brain's not functioning well enough to take in what they're saying. And I can remember myself nodding and then feeling my head was like a lead weight on my shoulders. And as I was staring at my screen, my computer screen at work, my eyes started to water. And I remember for a split second not realizing that I had actually fallen asleep. And my head bent forward and then I kind of jolted back. I was actually falling asleep at my desk sitting upright, and I thought, oh God, it's time to go and get a coffee or 2 coffees. Thank goodness I didn't have to talk it to any customers or anything. But I have heard of people falling asleep at work and snoring away. Gosh, how awful is that? Oh dear. Especially people that work in positions of night porter or night receptionist or something like that, where they just have to sit at a desk or sit in a chair all night like a security guard. And then it's so quiet and so dark and there's no sound and you have to be alert, but you know that you're getting tired, or you've had, maybe not had, like me, had a lot of noisy neighbours or something during the day, not had enough sleep, find yourself snoring in your seat. Yeah. That has to be really embarrassing, but not just embarrassing, like people get fired over stuff like that, right? When really it's like a natural bodily function. I mean, it'll just happen sometimes, you know. I don't think most people prefer to be asleep than doing their job. They just can't stay awake or couldn't stay awake. But yeah, it's not good. So it was only ever the once I remember actually physically feeling like I was nodding off. And there was people sitting near me, so I had to really make sure I wasn't going to fall asleep, because I didn't want to, anyone to think that I was not doing my work. Right, if I come over to here, 3, 4, there's a few stitches here I can finish actually. My counting skills in the background are not doing too bad. But I do think once I finish here, my goodness, I can't believe I've been stitching for 45 minutes. Have I really been talking for that long? Oh, goodness me. If you're still with me, well done. You're fantastic. I can't believe how time flies when you start recording. It just disappears in the blink of an eye. I'm just going to finish this thread. And yeah, not going to sleep because I don't think it's a good idea. But I think I am going to get another coffee. Just one more coffee. Just one more coffee. Give it to me. Okay. I think that's the last 2, 3, the last part of that colour. I'm going to end this thread down here. There we go. I made it. I'm going to finish that square off a bit later. My goodness, how quickly did that 45 minutes go? Unbelievable how quickly that went. I don't even remember what I said because I'm tired. I'll have to listen back, and I'll try not to edit everything out. I'll give you all the raw footage of ramblings. How about that? If that's what you really want to listen to. You probably don't, I'm sure. But that's the best I can do today. My raw, rubbishy ramblings. But hey, it's been nice to spend company with you again. Does that make sense? Gosh, you know what? I really am not in a good state when I don't get enough sleep. I start talking a lot of rubbish. So now you see me at nearly my worst. Hopefully next time I come back and chat to you, it'll be a bit better than it has been. So apologize profusely for being sleepy and tired. In any case, I hope you enjoyed some of this video, if not all of it. I hope you enjoyed some of it with all my best intentions. It has been nice to come back again and say hello to you all. I hope you're all keeping well and enjoying your stitching. And I look forward to checking up on a lot of you that I know are stitchers online. I've been watching a lot of flosstube lately, and I have been enjoying that, actually. I really love keeping up with as many as I can. There are so many new people coming on now. I really feel like, my goodness me, I'm going to need to spend the entire days watching flosstubers because I can't keep up with everybody in all their videos. So I certainly don't have the time to comment on them all. But yeah, I hope you all have a great Tuesday wherever you are. The noise seems to have gone now downstairs, so typically just as I've finished my video the noise stops. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will catch you guys very soon. So take care and see you next time. Bye.